Hi, my name's Philip Brown and I'm the Bearded Math Man. I would like to help you learn how to do exponents. So we're going to break this apart into a few different videos. This is part 1. So let's get started. Now here's how this is going to work. I'm not just going to give you a list of facts and rules and ask you to try the various problems and just see how they work, but instead I'm going to run you through a couple of exercises and things to look at and think about to hopefully help you understand where those rules come from, so that exponents will just be something that you do kind of naturally. So let's get started with it. First of all, exponents, they're a shorthand way of writing in math repeated multiplication. The way that this 9 is right here is the exponent and the 7 is the base. And this 9 means there are 9 7s multiplying together. So exponents are a shorthand way of writing repeated multiplication. So instead of writing all of this, we write this instead. And that's a big idea. It seems obvious when it's just like this with one little expression, but when you get more than one thing going on, sometimes that fact gets lost. So sometimes the base has parentheses around it, and that gets a little tricky too. We're going to get to that right now. So take a moment. 2 of these 3 are the same. Which 2 are they? Just pause the video until you think you've got it figured out. Word to the wise, you might want to write out what these expressions mean without exponents so that you can figure out which 2 are the same. That would probably be the best way to go about learning this. All right, here we go. This means just A, and this means B times itself 3 times. The second one over here, it means AB times itself 3 times. So that's AB times AB times AB. All that together, you can use the cumulative property of multiplication, A times A times A, and then you can do the 3 B's together as well. And this means 3 A's multiplying and 3 B's multiplying. So these 2 are the same. You see, the A over here, it has an exponent of 1. If you don't see a number there, if you don't see an exponent, it's an exponent of 1. This 3 is the exponent for the B, not the A. That's a big deal. Here, because of the parentheses, the 3 is the exponent for both, just like this. So these 2 are the same. Sometimes the way those parentheses are placed changes a lot. So for example, we have this and this. They're totally different. They are not the same whatsoever. So you have to be very careful with that. All right. Now, what about these 2? Are these the same? Go ahead and write out, if you know right now, then you know. But if you don't know for sure, go ahead and write them out. Pause the video, and then when you're done, hit play and take a look. So here we go. 8 squared times a cubed. Well, that means we have 2 A's multiplying right here, right? See? And we have 3 A's multiplying together over here, and together that makes 5 A's. A times A 5 times, A to the 5th. Whereas this over here, what this really means is we have 3 A squareds all multiplying. See? 3 A squareds all multiplying. And that makes A to the 6th. See? 2, 4, 6. That is A to the 6th. So these are not the same whatsoever. And from these 2 examples, we can just generalize and come up with our first 2 properties of exponents that we can kind of use as shortcuts later on. So the first one, the way this is described often, is that if you're multiplying and the bases are the same, you add the exponents. But I want you to know why. The reason why is this says that there are that many of this base multiplying, and it's being multiplied by, well, that many of the same exact base. So there would be this and that many all together you would add. Whereas this one, this is n groups of m, and that's what multiplication is. You have this many groups of A being multiplied by itself that many times. Now, one of the things that you're going to run into, especially if you're doing some math that is making you think, and it's not just a procedure, one of the things you're going to run into is you're going to read instructions that don't make any sense to you. So in the context of exponents, if you says to simplify, what that means is that each base that's the same, you got to put them together. So you can't have like x squared times x to the 5th as your final answer. That wouldn't be simplified. So you need to have all of the bases combined together with multiplication, and when you're done, all of the exponents need to be positive. So let's go ahead and work through one together right here. Let's simplify this expression right here. Now, order of operations is not its own topic in math. You are always following the order of operations. And here, we have to take care of this exponent first, and then last we will be multiplying. This m is multiplying with this group. Now, we can't do anything in that group. The parentheses groups are inside parentheses. We can't do anything with this, so we're just going to go ahead and skip to the exponent. And so this is 3 groups of 2, which is 6, and this is 3 groups of 3, which is 9. And now we can multiply. And you see, the parentheses don't do anything anymore because there's no exponent on the outside. Parentheses in this situation means multiply, and so does this. So anyway, 1 and 6 is 7. Don't forget there's a 1 right here. This is 1m, and that is 6 m's. That makes 7 total, and there you go. Now, again, you have to understand why this is. So if you don't understand why this is, you're going to mix it up in the future. So by the end of this video, you really have to have a solid grip on these two things and why they are true. All right. Take a moment and see which of these 4 answers is true for this and which of these 4 is true for this. So for the first one, it's 6n to the 5th. And the reason it's n to the 5th is I've got 2 n's multiplying here, and they are multiplying with 3 more n's there, and that makes 5. And 3 times 2 is 6. Well, these are bases. They're multiplying. We are multiplying bases, and we are adding the exponents. The reason, again, we're adding the exponents is because exponents are repeated multiplication. Okay, now over here. This one's a little trickier. There's a giveaway. The 24 is a giveaway because 2 cubed, we have to take care of this exponent before we can multiply by this 3. 2 cubed is 8. 8 times 3 is 24. So this is 9, 10, 11. So that's n to the 11th. Whereas if you did it incorrectly, what you would get is if you multiplied these 2 together, you get n to the 5th, and you cube that, you would get n to the 15th. That's why this one is wrong. Last fact for this video is anything to the power of 0 is 1. And I will explain this in detail in the next video, but for now, since we don't know how division works with exponents, you'll just have to take my word for it. So let's try a few. I would like you to try these 4. We're going to do them together, but you go ahead and try these 4 and get as far as you can. Do something you know, and when you're completely truly stuck or finished, then go ahead and play the video. But for example, you might see this and be overwhelmed and think, oh, I can't do that. But you can. There are things you can do. I believe you know how to do this, and I believe you can put the y's together, and I think that you know this is 1. So you do have things that you can do. So do as much as you can, and then come back and we'll finish it up. All right. Now, one thing, thinking about how you think about exponents here, if you are only looking for steps or answer getting techniques, you're going to have a really tough time with exponents. Also, if all you ever know are just the big ideas and you don't have any rules that you or laws or properties that you can sometimes refer to, you're going to get stuck as well. So exponents are really tricky because you have to balance the conceptual understanding with some procedure. So let's go ahead and look at those examples now. The first one, here it is. Now, again, simplify means when I'm done, I can only have 1x and I can only have 1y. Now, with exponents, of course, but there will only be one physical x written. So what simplify means, it means when I'm done, I will only have one physical x with an exponent written and one y written with an exponent, and I might have a number in the front. If not, it's a 1. So that's how we know when we're going to be done. And all the exponents have to be positive. So here are the shortcuts we have. Here are the things we know so far. So we're going to refer to these as we try to simplify and put this together. And again, there really aren't any steps. Like, it's not step 1 you would do this, or step 2 you would put these together. You just see what you know, and you apply these just following the order of operations. Okay, so because this is in parentheses and we have an exponent, I can't combine this x right here with this x until I take care of this exponent, because exponents and then multiplication, these two are multiplying. All right, so first thing, I don't see anything happening with the 2, so if it was me doing it, I would just go ahead and write the 2, and then I would combine the two y's. I've got y and y squared, that's y cubed. So 1, and then 2 over here, 1 and 2 is 3. Okay, now this right here is a little tricky. Negative x to the power of 0. That really means negative 1 times x to the 0, so it's negative 1. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and put the x cubed over here, and this is x to the 4th, and then I'm going to go ahead and combine those. Now let's just clean it up a little bit. Negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. I'm going to put it in descending order, which is alphabetical, basically. So x squared and then y cubed. Now you could have written negative 2y cubed x to the 7th, and that would be perfectly acceptable, but I prefer them alphabetized. Let's take a look at the next one. Same idea. Refer to these shortcuts or these ideas when you're simplifying this, and then just make sure you're following the order of operations. I've got a 2 for this group and a 2 for this group, so I need to square this and I need to square this. Thing I have to be careful of, there's a 1y here, and so if I was going to use this kind of shortcut right here, it would be 2 times 1, so this would be y to the 2nd power. So anyway, that's y squared and x to the 10th, and this 2 squared is 4, so everything in the parentheses gets squared. X squared is x to the 4th, y to the 0 is 1, 1 squared is 1, and just clean it up a little bit. X to the 10th and x to the 4th, that makes 14 x's. Put it in alphabetical order, and done. Okay, now these two are really tricky. So let's take a look. The thing that's going to trip you up is this negative u to the 5th being squared. Now again, that means negative 1 times u to the 5th. But negative 1 squared is positive 1. U to the 5th squared is u to the 10th. So that's going to be a positive u to the 10th and v to the 10th. So putting this together, it's going to be a negative 2, and then I'm going to have 11 v's. So negative 2 u to the 10th, v to the 11th. Next up, buttercup, same thing here. Just like in the previous slide, we have a negative u to the 0 power. That's going to become a negative 1. Negative 1 to the 5th stays negative 1. So be careful right here. This is u to the 5th. That's v to the 20th. Cleaning it up. There you go. All right, now let's see how you did on this one. Order of operations is tricky on this one. We have to take care of that parentheses first. The group, there are things we can do in this group, and then after that, we will do the exponent. So the group, we've got an x, and we've got, this is equal to 1, but it's negative 1. So negative 1 times 2, that's going to end up being positive. Yep, see? So we took care of that. We took care of the parentheses first, and now we're going to do the exponent, that 3 right there. So that's going to be 8, or 2 cubed, x to the 12th, y to the 9th. See? We're going to multiply, and there's a 1 right here. 2 to the 1 times 3. There you go. And now we can multiply these two things together. That's going to be, we have 12 and 3 more. That makes 15. If you found this video to be useful and helpful, you could really help me out by just clicking like and sharing. Also, for some practice problems, you could visit my website, thebeardedmathman.com. You can also find some written out instructions on how exponents work and information on lots of other topics. Anyway, thank you for watching.